Hey guys, I'm Mark. Today it is really hot outside, so I thought instead of doing another tomato video, I thought maybe we'd take a break and take advantage of the really hot day and go over into the woods on the eastern side of the property. It's a good day to walk in the woods. It's not too hot in the woods. So maybe we can go down and I'll show you the beach on the eastern side of the property. We've got a lot of trails that go back through the woods here. These are all fire trails that are cut in case the woods catch on fire someday, we have a forest fire, then we'll be able to get equipment back here in order to take care of it. So those are the paths that we're going to be walking on. In terms of location, where we are standing right now, I'll give you a little bit of a lay of the land. This is the big hill that goes up into the woods that way. That's going to be our first big climb, and then everything else is sort of, it kind of plateaus out from there and it filters all the way down to the low end of the property. The river sort of flanks us all the way on the left side the entire time we'll be walking. And as we go up the hill, there's going to be an incline that we're going to sort of walk along the side of, which kind of overlooks down on the river. So right now we're all the way at the bottom of the hill, so why don't we start walking? This is a really rocky part of the property. You'll see there's stones all throughout in here, so I'm not really sure historically what this part of the land was used for, because you couldn't really plow it. I can't imagine that you'd be able to plow it and clear it, and it's also very hilly. So other than harvesting lumber, I'm not sure what else has happened here. You can see there's a lot of ferns throughout. We're going to be passing a lot of those on our way. That's a nice little patch of them right there. I think it's been the lumber's been harvested out of here. I know at one point there was an orchard up along this hill up here to my right. But going way back historically, there's a lot of Native American activity on this property. We've found over the years arrowheads and even this really interesting stone bowl that was carved out. They were the Susquehannock Indians, which lived along the Susquehanna River. So we're just going to walk up the hill. It's going to be a really nice day for this. I like being in the woods because the woods are always temperate. In the wintertime, the woods are a little bit warmer. You're not out in the harsh elements. And then in the springtime, you're not, or in the summertime, you're not out in the blazing sun. You're not in all that heat. So the woods are always a nice little protected place to be, especially on a day like today. I'm going to try not to trip while I'm walking up this hill while I'm looking into the camera. Usually I'm accustomed to looking at the ground. I'm wearing flip-flops today, so that wouldn't be too fun to blow an ankle out. You probably noticed that Holly isn't with me today. I don't like taking Holly on this side of the property just because, well, this side of the property, we call it this side of the property because it is cut off by the road. The road is what separates that part from this part. And I just don't want her thinking that this is any part of her territory. She's got plenty of land to play around with and live her life on that side of the farm. I just don't want her thinking that she can come over here or get curious one day and try to get close to the road. We only ever take her in the road when she's in a car. She stays with me all the time though. She is really good about that, I will say. It's so nice out here today. If we're careful, if we keep our eyes open, we might see some wildlife. There's another patch of fern. If we're careful, we might see some wildlife. There's a lot of turkey in this area, wild turkey, which are pretty funny to watch fly. Every once in a while you'll see them fly. And it doesn't look like a bird that would be able to fly, but they do, at least for a short distance. But they're always neat to see. There's a lot of deer. We have coyote, fox. Every once in a while, one of the neighbors will say that they spotted a bear, but I haven't seen one yet. I think it'd be neat to put up some game cameras back here, just to have a camera lens here at nighttime and see what happens. I think it'd be pretty cool. So I was talking about before the ridge We're almost to the top of the hill. It's sort of started to plateau out on us. The ridge is still another, oh, I don't know, 50 feet of an incline, but you can see how high we've climbed so far. If you want to take a walk down this way, maybe we can spot the river from up here. The woods are mostly poplar and beech. There's some sycamore down by the river itself, but there's all kinds of trees. There's cherry and a lot of white oak and some red oak. Some of the lower stuff along the edges of the woods, like sassafras, dogwoods, things like that. So there's the river. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but this time of year, the leaves are in so thick that it kind of blocks off a lot of it. But right down there where you see that lighter color, that's the river. I was thinking about one day building like a little cabin up here. Just a small thing, no electricity, no plumbing or anything like that, just something small. You just come up here with a small little wood stove in there and start up a fire and sit out and look over the winter, over the river. I think it would be pretty cool in the wintertime when all the leaves are off the trees. You can see the whole river stretch out. It's pretty neat. But anyway, this whole ridge follows all the way around. But you can see it's not a great place to have a trail. That's why the trail's up that way. It's still a pretty sharp incline. So we'll go back up to the trail for now. Looks like a hickory tree. Every once in a while a tree will fall down, and if it's the right type of tree, we like to use that for firewood. We find we don't really have to cut any trees down. It's nice to have a four-wheel drive tractor because you can get back here and go pretty much wherever you would need to go with a trailer. Whoops. And we're back on the trail. There's a nice piece of oak that fell, I think it was 2 years ago. I cut it and moved it aside with ambitions of maybe cutting it into some sort of beam, but you can see that hasn't happened. Still make great firewood. Maybe get up here and chop it up this fall. I love the woods. It's always good weather in the woods. All right, guys, now we're pretty much at the top of the hill. From here on out, it's a downhill slope. The property goes that way some, but it stays pretty flat. I mean, this is about as high as most things get. And again, down that way is the river, and it wraps all the way around. And it just sort of flattens out and plateaus down that way. And that's where we're going to start walking. Down that way is the beach. This is the beach that we like to hang out at if you want things a little bit more private, or you want to pitch a tent and just sort of get away from everything. It's far away from any of the neighbors. It's very peaceful down here. Here's a cherry tree. So it's got some some burls or something wild going on the side of it. I like coming through into the woods when it's raining or when it's like just rained, because then all the rocks are wet and you see the lichens show up a lot more, like the different lichens on the rocks, and the mosses seem to get greener just for that little period of time. The mushrooms, if it's a real good rain, the next day the mushrooms will get a little acceleration in activity. You can find all different kinds of mushrooms back here. I think one day I came back here, I counted 30 different kinds. I was only walking around for like an hour. That was on a really sort of steep slope down over that way. I think, it seems to me, elevation has a lot to do with the way mushrooms spread out. Maybe, I don't really know anything about mushrooms, but when you're on a hill slope, you find a lot more biodiversity, it seems, than when you're just out in flat open ground. Maybe that's just me. I don't know if there's any fact behind that or not. I'd like to grow mushrooms one day. I think that's what I'm going to try to do next year. Try to grow some shiitake mushrooms or something. I had never tried before because we live about maybe almost an hour away from the mushroom capital of the country in Pennsylvania. So our mushrooms that we get at the grocery store are fantastic. But that's mostly the small portobello and like the cremini mushrooms. They're really fresh, but it would be cool to grow some different kinds just to experiment with. I've heard shiitakes are a good entry-level mushroom. It's harder to find those in the grocery store. You see there's a trail that goes up this way. That's a fun day just to come back here with the chainsaw every once in a while and just keep the trails cleared. It's a good excuse to get into the woods and just sort of walk around. All right, guys, something I wanted to show you were these rock piles. I don't know what they are. I don't know why they're here. Nobody really seems to know. One theory was they were clearing rocks out so that maybe they could plow a field through here or something, but there's so many rocks around. Like everything is rock, but then every once in a while you get these piles like this, and they're all over back here. So if you have any idea what they could be, we're interested in hearing some theories. One of the theories is it's maybe there's, like this is an old graveyard or something for Native Americans, or, you know, because why would they pile these? All the piles are pretty much the same size too. That's the other thing. None are really a whole lot bigger than others. Some of them are, but not by much. And I mean, humans did that. They're all stones that could be carried by a person. It seems to me that if these stones were moved with any kind of piece of equipment, there would be some in there that were bigger than others, but there's not. They're all like this size. Like you won't see a stone like that in any one of these piles. A little too big. Yeah, but I think there's one back there. There's another one that was up that way. We just don't know what they are. Here's a couple more. There's one there, and then there's another pile over here, and then there's another pile over there, and then one back behind it to the right. They're all throughout down here. There's so many other stones. You can see how rocky it is? Anywhere where the leaves are sort of brushed aside, you'll find stones in the ground. All right, guys. So you'll see down here is the floodplain. So every once in a while when the river jumps its banks, it'll fill up that whole like really lime green area that you see down there. But that area down there and all throughout, there's shorter sort of lowland shrubbery and smaller trees. There's a lot of privet, but there's smaller trees and things too that makes really good habitat for songbirds in the spring. This entire area is just loaded with songbirds in the springtime because they make their nests in these lower lying shrubs. It's just perfect for them. So in the springtime, it's an incredible sound down here. It's just an orchestra of birds. But down just past this little strip is where the second beach is. Isn't it beautiful? Like I said, it's so peaceful down here. There's no other real houses or anything around, no people building anything or making any noise. At nighttime, it's very nice. It's very nice if you camp out down here. It's a big poplar tree there. And here we are at the other beach. It's sort of tricky. We didn't want to put any steps or anything in here just because we thought it would sort of take away from it. So this little ramp down to the beach area, you sort of have to watch yourself and be careful. You good? And here we are. So it's not a sandy beach, it's a rocky beach. So if you're going to camp out down here, then you got to scoot some rocks aside and lay down a nice thick pad of some kind. A couple couch cushions, they work really well. But it's a nice deep area right here for swimming. It's really like the perfect section of river. It's nice that the beach is right here because you got a few different things going on. Down here past that tree, it really flattens out for a long ways and it widens up. So if you like fishing, that's where a lot of the like smallmouth bass and bluegill and things will like to be. And then the deeper area right here, well, there's a smallmouth right there. There's a nice one about that big. That camera's never going to pick that up. But in this this deeper area right here, you can catch all kinds of things. There's trout, again, smallmouth. Wow, look at them. There's a bunch. There's an even bigger one right there. Right there where the sun's hitting the water. There's trout. There's, we call them bluegill. Creek jubs, which I think is a type of minnow. There's some carp that come up. Every once in a while you can catch a small catfish. But these little areas down here that are far away from the road or far away from any houses are nice to fish because they never get disturbed. There's hardly ever people down here. So I think it's a nice quiet spot for them to kind of hang out. Ah, it's just such a nice day. Up this way, this is where the river changes a little bit even more. You got the bend up here, so the water kind of moves a little bit quicker. Sometimes we find trout like to sit in a little bit faster moving water, depending on the time of year. And there's even more of a beach that kind of goes out that way, but I think for whatever reason that section has a little bit more mud and sand in it, and this section has a little bit more rocks. So that section winds up growing a lot taller with grasses. Just be careful in here, it's really slippery. So anyway, that's the eastern beach. Hey, what are these prints? I'm thinking right offhand that they might be dog prints, but we don't have the dogs down here. Yeah, they're deer. They're deer, and then these are some kind of dog or fox or something. You guys hitting many shallow spots?
What's that?
I said you guys hitting many shallow spots today? It hasn't rained in a while.
There's been a couple shallow spots, not too bad.
Yeah.
It's been alright.
Yeah. Is it clear?
Yeah. It's hot though.
We're just shooting a YouTube video down here. Like
Okay,
showing
cool.
the beach. You guys might be on YouTube.
Oh, what's your channel?
It's called Mark's Garden Life.
Mark's Garden Life?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll check it out.
It's about gardening, and this is our property, so I'm doing a little tour of what it's like down here at the beach.
Okay.
But, nice kayak.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
It's the best one.
Yeah. How you doing?
There you go, man.
You want to walk back up? I'm going to try not to fall. So. Well, we'll wrap it up right here. There's a lot more of the trail that kind of goes up to the left, but that's pretty much the same woods that we saw walking down. So for right now, that's my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.